They can give a full recap later as to the great early days of harmony that they missed, right?
Okay, a couple of things before we start. If you haven't signed the sheet back here, it's on the table, please sign it so we get kind of an idea as to how many people we got. Tonight, after we finish, whatever time it might be, it's pretty loose, 9:30, quarter to 10, whatever it is, we do have Pizza Hut. There's an Afterglow place where we hold our Afterglows. We'll tell you how to get there.
Somebody else will tell you how to get there.
Well, you don't know how to get there?
No. Didn't you told me someone will tell me where to go?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of guys that do that.
I have a volunteer list.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's what the sign-up sheet is.
Yeah, that's what the sign-up sheet's for, right. So, tonight we do have Pizza Hut for a little while. Also, next month, which we'll go back to our regular third Thursday of the month, we have Carl Walters and Variety. I think Variety is going to be with us. I know Carl will be. And we'll explore a lot of different things, including vocal technique. And we'll talk about some of the wonderful things that many of you guys from Whittier have already heard about through Dave Cheverton and Ron Black in Running Springs. And it's neat stuff. If you hear improvement in quartets, a lot of that improvement has to do with some of the things we'll talk about in terms of vocal technique. So that's next month, third Thursday, that's the 20th of May, so make sure you put it in the calendars. Okay.
You guys can start. Go ahead.
God has given us permission, so let's welcome Dan Jordan.
Hey! What I've got for you tonight is something I used to do about 6-7 years ago. I went around to some of the chapters and some of the district music schools, and I would kind of take you on about a 100-year trip through harmony, not just barbershop, but there's plenty of barbershop here to see and hear. But what I've done now, since I've kind of dug this out of the closet and started doing it again, is I've updated it and added some other groups that have come along since I did this the last time. And what I'm trying to do is let you guys who love barbershop and hopefully love other styles of harmony see that there are some other groups out there that are either on the cutting edge of trying to do something new with music, with a cappella music basically, and also guys that are still trying to perfect the barbershop craft, including professionals who have tried it over the years, groups even nowadays who are trying to sing barbershop or claim that they sing barbershop. And what I found is that it proves that we still do it the best as a barbershop organization is to do barbershop harmony. We still do it better than anybody. But I think we can learn from the other musical styles that have come and gone through the last 100 years that have sung a cappella to give it a listen and maybe take it into the barbershop vein and say, hey, we'll take this and we'll take that and we'll add it to the barbershop style of song, but we'll add some new interpretive things. We'll do some sound effects. We'll try some different things. We'll branch off into more harmony parts and make it exciting for the audience. You know, whether you're in a quartet or a chorus, it's always nice to stumble across something that you think is new, and then you find out if you research through a lot of recordings, as you'll witness by the table I have up here. I distribute a cappella recordings through a catalog that I started about 2 years ago, and this is basically just a barbershop sampling of what I sell. I have the biggest collection of barbershop recordings you can find anywhere, including videos, CDs, and books and learning tapes. And then I also have a whole a cappella section of other groups like jazz and pop and doo-wop and gospel, rhythm and blues. Everything that's been done in a cappella, that's kind of where I put all my work into that the last couple of years. And you find there's a lot of it out there. Some of it's really bad, some of it's pretty good, a lot of it's really interesting. And it's always neat when someone will call you up and say, hey, I know you've got this in your collection, but have you heard this group that does Japanese polka music? And that's enough for me as a nut to go, ooh, I got to hear that, you know. And sure enough, someone will send you a tape of it, and it's god awful, but for whatever reason, these people decided they wanted to try it, you know. In fact, I just had a CD sent to me from Austria. I told a guy that I met at Disneyland about a group that I know that lives in Austria. It started as a barbershop octet. They're called Vocalitas. I don't know if you were in San Francisco in 1990 or not, but they came over here as a gift of going through the States through Earl Hagen, who sang with the Side Street Ramblers. He introduced them to the barbershop world as this a cappella octet that started out singing barbershop. Then they branched off into doing things from the King Singers repertoire. They do madrigals, they do pop music, They do reggae, all kinds of stuff. Now they've made 2 records. They just did a tour of the United States this last summer. So I told this guy about the group. So we got to check them out. You live in Austria, you got to look them up. So he says, well, hey, when I get back to Austria, I'm going to send you something. We have a premier yodeling octet. And I went, yes, a yodeling octet, something I haven't heard, you know. So he sent me this CD, and I got to tell you, it's the weirdest thing you've ever heard. But these guys sing bell chords and I mean clusters of stuff that you wouldn't believe, all in Austrian, and I mean it's just, and it's all a cappella. There's no instrumentation with it. It's just 8 guys, doing their thing, and they're like the best in Austria. Certainly it's something you wouldn't find here in the States, so I've still tried latching onto that to sell it, just as a novelty piece in my catalog, but it becomes very expensive to import certain things, depending on who recorded it, who put up the money for it. It would cost about $30 to sell it here in the States, and you don't have too many people to put out $30 on CDs unless they're real avid collectors or crazy like myself. So what I've done is we'll kind of go through some of the quartets that I found from the early beginnings of the Barbershop Society, who kind of paved the way for what we do nowadays. Hopefully you'll hear, by listening to some of these tapes, you'll hear how everybody was kind of on the cutting edge of trying to change what we did. Every year there was something different. And it's funny that there's always a fight in the Barbershop Society to not change what we already started. But when you hear some of these early recordings, if we hadn't changed from some of this, I don't think we'd be sitting here tonight having some fun, and doing this, because we would have dried up a long time ago. The first quartet that's on this tape here made this song famous in 1941. There's a 1941 recording of the Chord Busters, and they're doing the infamous, as everyone thought it was, the Suntone song. It's the Chord Busters, Bye Bye Blues, 1941, off of their 6-record set, which was a compilation of what is like one record album now. It was 6 albums on 78, 6 records in a big album set, which you used to be able to buy for about $2.50. Now if you can find them, they're about $20 in the record stores, even if the guys don't know what barbershop is. They look at the covers and think it's got to be worth something. So this is the Chord Busters. We'll play a little bit of them and see what kind of sound we got working here.
I got a big surprise when I saw you smile. I never dreamed that it could be. But now I realize that I saw you smile. There's only happiness for me.
Tempo, guys, right? Section 51 years ago, right? 52 years ago. Check out the tag. See, this is the way you remember all the Suntones. There you go. Some blues, a little bit of blues there, right? So 52 years ago, they were trying something different. You didn't hear people singing successions of bell chords one after another. And when they go into a contest, I have a real neat letter from the bass of the Chord Busters, Tom Mazengale. He sent me this tape with all their stuff on it, and also did a whole narration and told about the quartet, how they started, what they did. And they're no different than any quartet today. You're looking for original material. You try things that might be too far over the line for the judging system. It hasn't changed. It's 50-some years, but we're still progressing forward. That's what you got to do. That you've got to go out there and lay something out on the first time. If it's not in the judging manual, guaranteed the next year it will be. Okay? So the worst you can do is you can break new ground, all right? You can make them say, well, they shouldn't be doing that, so next year we'll make sure they don't do it. But you've done it, and you've opened up people's minds to say, hey, that wasn't so bad after all. Because now listening to that, that's kind of tame compared to Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Second Edition. You know, and they won with that too, but by God, you can't sing that anymore either. You know, you go back to '63 and listen to the Nighthawks singing Buddy, Can You Spare a Dime? It's a classic, you know, when you list out your songs, your favorites, ooh, some of those ones that you can listen to over and over again. That's one of them, and that was contest legal. And the music was published by the Society for a good number of years. Then, as our contest rules have changed, and people said, well, I don't think that's barbershop anymore. That's where it gets confusing to the barbershop aficionado, the lover of the style, as to, well, why isn't it anymore? It was 15 years ago, everyone was singing this, now I can't sing it. Well, because we redefined what barbershop really is. But these guys really did what barbershop was. They didn't have written arrangements. The Chord Busters did everything to the likings of, I like to look at it of around the 1890s when barbershop was coming into form with the vaudeville quartets and stuff. A guy who was a singing minstrel would go into a barbershop, would sing a tune, and three guys would harmonize to it. And they'd make up their own chords, and hopefully they'd remember what they did. That's like what we do when we woodshed. You hit a good chord and you go, God, the next time I sing that with somebody, I got to put that zinger in there because that felt good. That's what these guys did. The only difference was they always had a coach with them. And the coach, or the arranger, which in this case was Molly Regan, would sit around and listen to these guys and say, no, the last time we did this, you sang that note because I'm putting it down on paper. There's where our arrangers come in, okay? These guys are just saying, hey, we don't know nothing about this crap with the paper and the black things on it. We're just, we're woodshedding, we're singing. Later on, I'm going to play you a tape that I just discovered about 2 weeks ago, which is the worst representation of barbershop singing I've ever heard in my life. And it was advertised on TV for sale. And it says it on the record, as seen on TV, and it's called Barbershop Gold. And it's things like this recording that you'll hear that gives the society a bad name. It's those PR things that when someone goes and buys that for $8.98 off the TV, puts it on the stereo and goes, "Lee." Because when I listened to it, I thought it was a joke. I thought that this was something that somebody went into a studio and said, let's just make up some medleys that have nothing to do with each other, no key changes, and we'll just have you sing a bunch of songs, and I'll piece them together.
It's something that somebody packaged.
And this was actually done, I've written to the record company that produced it, and it says on the back, it didn't tell who the guys are, but it says that they're noted barbershoppers who have won awards. And after listening to it, I'm telling you, I was like ready to do the old rip the card and take up bowling on Tuesday night, because this was really bad. And it was like, man, I only paid $3.99 for it at a hawk shop. I can't see paying $8.98 on TV and then saying, oh, this is barbershop. Then you go up to your friend and say, hey, we're putting on a barbershop show this weekend. He just bought that thing. He's got it sitting over there on the shelf and says, no thanks. It's a hard sell after that. This section of quartets I have on here are, in my estimation, the quartets that really did change the society, did different things, tried things on the judges, on the crowd, saw what worked, and said, this is where we go. So first we had the Chord Busters. What we'll do is I'll play little bits of them, we'll fast forward to the next one so you can get to hear a bunch of these. Next one's naturally the Buffalo Bills, 1950 champs. You know the history behind them, the Music Man, and all that good stuff. This is back in the original combo of the quartet.
Way down south I'm going.
This is 1951.
Here's just an old-time story, one that you've heard before. I left my mammy's fond caress to search the world for happiness. The things I left behind me were the things I taught in vain. Sad and blue, weary too. I'm going home again. Yes, sir, I'm going south. It's the sugar cane right in my mouth. All the world is sweet away down south.
He likes that move,
My
right?
happy days, my happy days. I hear the rustling corn, birds ship singing by the silvery moon. And got a thing to pack, still I'm heading for that little shack. Ain't nobody gonna hold me back, I'm going south. I just can't picture my...
Okay, so you get an idea of them. They're like really the first big robust sound of a quartet that came along in the competition. I mean, this was done as a monaural recording, one microphone, and you hear just the depth of the quartet. I mean, a guy that can basically blowing the mic out when you hear the the resonance of his voice, the recording won't even pick it up. It's so wide, that's why it sounds like he bottoms out. Because back then, the old recording systems they used to use, you know, it's four guys around one like this, having to sing all right in here in each other's face to make it work. Or in their case, one mic here and sing in quartet formation, record a record. So you can imagine what we could have got out of quartets like this of long ago in today's technology, CDs and all that kind of stuff, what they really, really sound like. I mean, how exciting. I never had to hear the Buffalo Bills live. I don't know if anybody here did, but I can just imagine what it must have been like to stand in front of a quartet like that and hear those guys belt out some chords. Big, big sound, all big full voices.
I saw them on the Perry Como show one time, and they were ringing so solid and so sharp, he had to cover his ears.
I believe it. I mean, they're big voices.
They
full voice
actually went
tenor.
like this. They couldn't stand it. They backed up because they were so sharp. I saw
And this is the Confederates, 1956. Another quartet that really did some stuff.
Fish are jumping my
Voices, you know, a real manly
and
sound.
the cotton is high. The cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich. Oh, a man and your mammy's good looking. She's right good looking, they say. Oh, I shall
Another what I call one of the real man basses of all times right here.
One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing.
Yeah.
Then you'll spread and spread your wings, and you'll take to the sky. You'll take to the sky until that morning.
The interesting thing is, these are some of the first recordings that I heard when I got a barbershop. I was 14. It's not barbershop. You know, there's some chords in there that are, but a lot of this is not. You could not sing this. And in places you did, ooh, what are they singing? This is exciting stuff. It's what gets you going, you know?
Standing by
Take no prisoners, right?
my bed.
I'll play this for the baritones. I was going to turn the tag off, but... There's a little sixth. Yeah. So you got the Confederates. Now looking at some of the other ones I put on the list here, think of some of these names and see what they mean to you. We had the Chord Busters. There was the Mid-States 4 in '49. Comedy Quartet. Did great stuff. Played instruments, for God's sakes. I mean, they get out on shows and play a 12-string guitar and a stand-up bass. But they were a barbershop quartet in the old sense of a vaudeville quartet. Did more shows than probably anybody during the 40s, probably up through like the early 60s. They did more shows than anybody. Great quartet. Buffalo Bills, the Schmidt Brothers, one of the first brothers quartets that we had in the society. We had the Lytle Brothers from out here in the Far Western District. We had the Feasters. Geez, there's been a lot of good quartets. We've had
Yeah, Rays.
The Del Rey, yeah, the Del Rey brothers, that's right.
Yeah, the brothers that are in the second edition now.
Second edition, you got David, well, you had the Harrington brothers, and then you had David and Doug.
When they were Kid Quartet.
Yeah, it was the Harrington brothers album. Gee, we got the Yoder brothers who sang with Row Route 4, Pete Tyree and his father, who sang in the Westinghouse Quartet, and Pete Tyree sang with the Orphans. So father and son, who both were up there and won international. Evans Quartet. What else we got here? What do we got? Yeah, the brothers, there you go, the Golden Staters.
Yeah.
How about the Kidder and Sons?
Yeah.
Knudsen brothers.
Or the representation.
Minus one, right? Then you've got quartets getting up into the later 50s after the Confederates. You had the Gay Notes, Sun Tones in the 60s, the Sidewinders from Far Western District out here, Four Renegades, Western Continentals, Gentleman's Agreement, Dealer's Choice, Most Happy Fellows, Boston Common, Classic Collection, Acoustics. Quartets that have taken chances and done different things. If you go back and you got recordings of these and you listen to them, look at the stuff that they're trying to do. They're trying to advance the hobby. They're trying to advance the musicality that we have in barbershop. And certainly the sounds of the quartets have gotten better. And over the years, it's tough to pick, who's your favorite bass of all time. I did that once with the AIC. When I was doing the newsletter for our organization, I said, let's try and pick your favorites. And I said, no, we're not going to make this a contest. I just want to know from each champ, who's your favorite tenor, lead, baritone, bass, and quartet, and you cannot vote for yourself or your quartet. And you got to, I want to see who these guys admire. And it was interesting seeing what other champs, who they thought were the best quartet, or the best tenor, or the best bass ever, that ever walked across the stage and won a medal. And it was real interesting who got the votes. The winning tenor was Vern Reed of the Buffalo Bills. The winning lead was Drayton Justice of Gentleman's Agreement. Harlan Wilson was the winning baritone from the Sun Tones. And the winning bass was Tom Felgen of the Four Renegades and Chicago News. And I had hoped, except that Vern was alive at the time, but was unable to come to the conventions. But I wanted to get that quartet together. Just let them sing one, and let's really see what it sounds like. Because we've tried this before. You can get four of the best, and you put them up front. They can't even sing "Bright Was the Night." It's like it was the combo that made made the quartet, right? Here, we'll fast forward here a little bit. What's that?
What was the favorite quartet?
Oh, the favorite quartet was the Buffalo Bills.
That's interesting.
Buffalo
Buffalo
Bills.
Bills to me was the top quartet from where we came from and reached a pinnacle peak there. They sang barbershop, but they sang it in a meter and that. After that, we started getting a little bit more emotion into the singing, like when we hit the Sun Tone.
Yeah, well, and if you look at the Sun Tones, if you look at the discography that they had, the recordings the Sun Tones made, if you were a barbershopper that got in the late 60s, early 70s, you listen to Sun Tones, you'd think a lot of the songs they did were theirs. But when you research it back and you look at the old Buffalo Bills records, if you can find them around, they were simply doing an extension of the Buffalo Bills. They sang a lot of Walter Latsko's arrangements that he did for the Bills. They just latched onto them, and as they stayed together for 24, 25 years, the Sun Tones, they had sung quite a few of the Buffalo Bills' original old tunes. Classic Collection is doing the same thing now. They're now like the quartet of the 80s into the 90s, that their last two records are all Walter Latsko Buffalo Bills tunes, which proves that here's a guy that's done arranging for them for 35 years, and the stuff is still good. It's still playable, it's still singable, it's still good to an audience, that he was way ahead of his time. Do stuff like he did back in 55 and 56 and still hear it in 92, and an audience still gets moved by it. It's a pretty darn good piece of music. Of course, Walter Latsko's a really remarkable arranger, and he's had some pretty good quartets to work with that have sung his material. Now what I will play for you on the other side here is, we were just talking to the Buffalo Bills. Now here's the Buffalo Bills. I put a little section here of barbershop quartets that busted off into really the hardline edge of being a professional group. They all had different reasons for what they did and why they did it. The Buffalo Bills were just a little capsule of what they did. The Buffalo Bills were a quartet in 1947, singing around the chapter. The baritone who was with them at the time did not want to go on and do the competition route. They found a gentleman by the name of Dick Grapes, who came in as the baritone. They went to internationals, won in 1950. They then got offered a shot to go to New York and meet with Meredith Willson about a show he was putting together. He'd sung with them for a few years, Dick Grapes, about 4 or 5 years, and said, hey, you got this opportunity. Pack up your families, your kids, quit your businesses, go back to New York and star in this Broadway musical I'm putting on called The Music Man. that was too much for the baritone. And he said, no, I've got 2 little kids at home and I don't want to do that, and I have a secure job, and I think I'll pass on this. The other 3 guys did it. They got a hold of a guy by the name of Wayne Scotty Ward, who sang with a quartet called the Great Scots, with his brother Angus McGee Ward, and I mean, they were like real Scotsmen. They used to wear kilts in the contest. Now, you know, they say we can't dress up like women, well, they wore kilts. And they got him. He was a vocal gymnast. The guy could sing all 4 parts and do them all equally well. And they went and sang for Meredith Willson. Again, after they made the change, he said, fine, it's great, I love it, you're in. The Broadway play is a success. They make the movie in '63. They sang with Wayne all the way up through there. In '63, if you've ever watched The Music Man, and you watch near the end of the movie when it's the last scene, when they're going to bring Harold Hill in, they've already tied him up and they're going to tar and feather him. If you look at the scene where they pan the crowd that are sitting in the gymnasium waiting for the mayor to say, well, by God, where's the band, you know? When they pass the crowd, put it on still frame and look at the members of the quartet, and you'll notice a guy who they kind of hide right about here behind another guy so you don't get a full-on facial shot of him, because it was not Bill Spangenberg, the bass. Bill had been put into the hospital and he died before the movie came out. So in that last scene, they filmed it without him. But they got a guy as a stand-in who somewhat looked like him, set in what you saw the other 3 plain as day, and then just kind of a half shot, and you go, I don't know, it's not. They went on and they lasted until 1967. They replaced Bill Spangenberg on bass with a guy by the name of Jim Jones. And they made 15 record albums. They were on television, radio, Broadway stage, movies. Definitely the most successful quartet that's come out of the Barbershop Society. And their thing was, in the late 50s, after they'd done Music Man, was to go with the help of Meredith Willson and a lot of people at RCA Victor and Columbia and Decca Records. They recorded on 4 major labels, which is pretty incredible, was to go the route of a professional quartet. That's where it took them. They did make a lot of money from it, but in this day and age, they could have been, worth like a lot more. I mean, money has changed so much. But back then, it was a lot of money to them. This was their first attempt at doing stuff with music. And yet we still accepted them as the barbershop quartet that we know a lot about. Wrong. That was the Eastern Airs.
Trying to sound like
the Buffalo Bills, that's right. That's the famous Danny Boy tag everybody sings. Quartet that never won. Now listen for the overtones on this. So this one's cool about this.
Oh, Danny boy. Oh, Danny
There's 2 more coming up, but the tenor's not singing.
So, Danny, my boy.
Nobody's singing that.
Danny, my boy, my boy.
Pretty incredible. And here's the Buffalo Bills. This is with instrumentation. This is about 1958.
Happy days, happy days, happy days are here again. Happy days are here again. The skies above are clear again. And I sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again. All together shouting now, there's no one who can doubt it now. So
Victor Orchestra, huh? Okay, now the next quartet, we just played the second. What's that?
That was Bill.
That was Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
Well, no, I have this too. Buffalo Bills. Now the next quartet we played earlier, I just played, you heard the Danny Boy tag. Eastern Airs, 1959, a year later, they say to themselves, hey, there's money in this. Let's go try this. So they stuck a group together in 92 days, went in, struck a deal with RCA Victor. They made a record. If you ever see it in a store, pick it up. It's a great one. It's called Once Over Lightly with the Eastern Airs. And on the front of it, it's a woman in an old poodle skirt. She's got a poodle wrapped around an old barber pole by the leash. And I saw it in an old record store and just the name Eastern Airs and went, nah, it's probably not the same group, you know. And then I saw the barber pole. Hey, wait a minute. Thought it was going to be barbershop. When I got home, it's all with instrumentation. Pretty incredible stuff for 59.
I grow tired of a song, you can make it too long. It grows as I put and throw away. But still I never change my tune. When we are strolling beneath the moon, great detective to see, and said to me, I need you much more than I can say. I know I'm aiming high, but the dream I can try, so why can't I? Just deep inside my love song, breaking my heart. I love you, don't let us part. I love you, I always knew it would be you. Since I heard your listening laughter, it's your right to shine, I'm at the break of my heart. Your chances, make words to say. How chances, come in my own. Come make your home in my heart, my heart. Hey, 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 baby, I'm my heart, I love you. And you never find me. This is great. Sweeter than the down, sweeter than the rose of Erin, all your waiting smiles and dear.
Pretty tight, right? All the tenors, that's like they're ready to die in a minute, right? 1959. Just a year earlier, in 58, the Gay Notes. It's a real interesting period in barbershop, 57 through about 61. The Gay Notes took a record into a radio station called Strictly Square Barbershop. And if you have it in your collection or not, it's a little caricature on the front of the Gay Notes standing around an old barber chair and a barber pole, big heads, little bodies. Took it in the station and said, hey, well, I get some airplay in this for a barbershop quartet. And I listened to it. Back then, 50s, you know, doo-wop was real heavy in 57, 58. And he said, hey, man, it doesn't have a beat to it, you know? You can't listen to this stuff. What is it? You gotta have some beat to this. They took it home, mulled over it for a couple months, and got really ticked that no one would play barbershop on the radio station. They got a hold of a 19-year-old bass player, piano player, drummer, saxophone, trombonist by the name of Brian Beck. Brian Beck was an avid fan of the Gay Notes. They brought him up from Texas. He put down all the tracks that you'll hear on here. He's playing all the instruments. They took the same songs from the first record and said, Brian, give him a beat, jazz him up. They re-released the record called Strictly Swingin'. There's the same pictures of them on the front, but this time they were on a motorcycle instead of a barber chair. They were all in leather jackets with iron crosses and everything on the front, still little caricatures. Took it in the radio station, and they played it like all the time because the stuff had music to it.
That was from Tulsa, right?
It's also Oklahoma, right? And this is what they heard the second round, and this is Brian Beck on all the instruments.
Rio cutie, won't you come back and be my baby? Down on the Babylon, work on the bayou, ding dong dolly with the devil on her knee. The devil's in her eye, now don't be shy. Rio beauty, won't you cuddle up closer? Never was another one like you, no sir.
done originally on their first one, a cappella, by, you know, good old Mo Rector's arrangement. Just laid some stuff around. All of a sudden, hey, airplay. So they went with the flow, you know. It wasn't being played. They still wanted to get the music out there, so that's the alternative route that they took. Now, I told you there's some professional quartets that attempted barbershop. There have been many. There's quite a few other records that people have mentioned to me that I'd love to find. That was the Suntones. Suntones also did something with music. They used two of the guys from the Mid-Stage Four on their last record on the My Fair Lady album. They played It Had to Be You, and they played it with 12-string guitar and stand-up bass, and the four of them. Again, it was a real requested tune by everybody that, after they heard it, wanted to hear them sing it, play it. Well, we can't because we left the other two guys in Florida. They're not with our group. Oh, here we go. Okay, now this next group, see if you can guess who they are. And if you can't, I'll tell you who they are. This is 1948.
Sweet
John is still alive.
Yeah, you know, still with guitar. Interesting chords.
At night, dear
Add O-line, and on the record it says sweet add O-line.
for you I find
The interesting thing is to take this and try and revive the old classic sweet add line the way they do it the second way through.
my
It's
dreams.
the difference between a professional lead singer who's got a different idea, the way to sing it, than the way
Your
we sing the barbershop.
fair face be
This is kind of their, on the record it said this was their idea of the old barbershop quartet standing around.
You're
Then they do their
the
version.
flower of my heart,
For sure.
sweetheart
Yeah,
of
hey, just a little bit of difference there, right? Throat grommet sound, you know?
At night, dear Lord,
It just gives you a different feel for like do
it's
something.
for you I
A little bad note there, right?
find all my dreams. Your fair face
We do some stuff with that.
You're the flower of my heart, sweetheart of
The cool thing is when you listen to something, you play like this record has like 15 cuts on it. The thing I listen for is that these are four guys that are professional musicians, but also started as just four guys that were brothers that sang. But if you listen to the type of feeling they put into the music, they just sing. They don't make it work. They don't make it tough. They stand and sing. That's what made it so enjoyable to listen to a group like the Mills Brothers. They could just stand and sing, and you went, wow, this is neat. It just happens. They're not working at it. That's really, you know, anytime a quartet's worked with me and the leads having struggle really trying to go for it, it's like, hey, just mellow out. Play some Mills, man, you know? Have a cup of tea and play some Mills, you know? And just do that. Just kind of lay it back just a bit and don't make it so much work. The next group, well, someone mentioned them earlier. This was the famous Sportsman from the Jack Benny show. They're going a little way out there. Yeah, vibraphone, folks. Here we go. Little guitar.
The sugar walks down the street. All the little birdies go tweet, tweet, tweet. And in the evening when the sun goes down, it's never dark when she's around. She's so affectionate. affectionate, and I'll say this, that when she kisses me, I sure stay kissed.
Right?
When my sugar walks down the street, the little birdies go tweet, tweet, tweet. Tweet, 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 tweet.
Now, if you're a follower of a group like the Hi-Los, you listen to some of the old Hi-Los records, the Sportsmen, again, were trying to do some of the things that the Hi-Los had already done. The Hi-Los did a song that had this little tweet, tweet, that kind of thing, and doing the old syrupy, real bad tenor, tenor up top melody. These guys tried to do it too. This record was a classic too, because on the front is Jack Benny with the famous look, and the four of them were in behind him, doing all these poses behind him, trying to be really funny. And they were like his, stooge quartet for the show. But the guys cut a few records, made some money. Okay, now we got another one. See if you can recognize these guys.
Members of the society?
Sportsmen were members of the society, yeah. They were members of the barbershop society. There we go.
When my sugar walks.
Sportsmen, right.
Tweet, tweet.
Bang. Okay. Yeah. See if we can guess this group. This is another quartet. Yeah.
You have in your library, Quartet was on very common called the Doorman.
The Doorman. No, I know. Now, by the way, while I'm here, if any of you have any great old quartets that you don't hear tonight or I don't mention on my list of goodies here, let me know. I'll send you a blank tape. Make me a copy of it. I'll add it to what I've got here. Because it's really neat to try and put them in a section to figure out who was where and doing what. Yeah.
Do you have the Four Dorman by an RCA album from about 59 or 60? Four Dorman?
No, I think you said the Four Dorman.
That was my introduction to barbershop.
Really?
Yeah,
Perry Como.
I was in the RCA record club.
Really?
It was one of the ones I chose. I wonder what this is.
Four Dorman.
You still have it?
I've got a record plate on that.
I'd love to. I'll make sure to give you a card and stuff. Yeah.
How about the Bartlesville Barflies?
I do have the Barflies. I'm going to play you a little piece of them just so you can hear. Sorry, truly how bad they were. It was one of these recordings. There was very few four-part chords in it. But again, 39. That was the style. It was woodshed. You're on my note. Get off. If you don't, fine. We'll go to the next one. We'll find another chord and then we'll continue on. But that's how we evolve, right? That's how we get up out of the water and walk, right?
In the cozy little corner, love is just around the corner. When I'm around you, I'm a sentimental
Freshman, four freshmen.
and I couldn't be
Four freshmen with 5 trombones. This album.
keep me in the corner.
One guy plays 2.
Just waiting for you.
Now, for those aficionados who know if any of these guys were members of the Barbershop Society, yes or no? Ross Barber.
Were they?
Yeah. Ross Barber is still a barbershopper. He used to be a member of the San Fernando chapter. Used to come to all the shows and stuff. He joined the chapter about a few years ago. His brother was the one that was killed in the plane accident, Don Barber. And that's when they continued on with one replacement of the group. But Ross is still out in the valley. He was a barbershopper. Here was a unique find.
Let's go.
This was one of those. There's still an album of these guys I'm trying to find where they sang all barbershop, which is how they got their start. What's that?
Modern Ears?
No? No?
Modern Ears?
No? They're brothers, I'll tell you that much. It's Pied Piper's song, right? The Williams brothers, right? Yeah. Andy Williams. Now there's 3 songs on this record. This record I found for $1, and the reason why I bought it because the cover was really cool. It was the whole Williams family on the front. And in the picture, the 4 of them are wearing a quartet outfit. They're all dressed the same. And the great thing about it was, here they went to all this expense to make this great cover of the entire Williams family. And one of the guys is turning away like he's walking to go someplace, and he's blocked completely out. All you see is his ear. But you see the sweater and the pants that match the other 3 who are sitting on stools. And they put that on the cover of this big record. And I flipped on the back and it says, with the Williams brothers, the Williams brothers, Williams brothers. But they did make a barbershop album. So if you ever see it, let me know. I don't care how much it is. I'd like to have it because they do Wild Irish Rose, Down Our Way, Coney Island Baby. It's all those on there. And that's how the Osmonds, when they went and sang on the when they went to sing on the Andy Williams show, their first album was songs we sang on the Andy Williams show.
I've got it.
So where they're on the front and he's sitting there with them on the little stairs and everything. That's where they sang Barbershop with him. They had heard his quartet with his brothers sing Barbershop. Really good blend, but again they pumped up the music. So you notice the music is a little louder than the group, just to kind of drown out some of the not real accurate singing. Now we jump way up into just another professional group where they gave their hand at it. Is 1980. This was a rock group.
Since you said goodbye to me,
He took the 5 members of his band,
flowers in
and this was
their
the biggest hit at their concert in the Forum. It was when they stepped away from their instruments and sang a doo-wop
want
song.
you back, you see, naturally. Ever since you said goodbye to me.
So they closed his concert. Huey Lewis and the News. It's on their album called Four. F-O-R-E, like
Want you
Paul.
back, you see.
They sing a cappella.
Mr. Moon is left without a tune.
The unique thing was, after they'd done this, there was an article in Billboard magazine about it. The incredible thing was the crowd went totally berserk after they sang this. And it was like, hey, it proved again that isn't it just kind of a neat little release to hear people sing without blaring instruments and percussion and all this good stuff. They just stepped up, 6 of them sang, got done, thunderous ovations, encore forever, and walk off in the wings and go, hey, that was a pretty neat shot. And they're one of the successful groups that have been able to do it. There's other groups that have tried singing a cappella who have really made some pretty bad attempts at it.
Did
But-
acapella come in about that time, 80? Or, when did acapella really...
Well, acapella's been around ever since, geez. Wow.
Since Jesus.
Since Jesus, that's right. That's right.
What I'm asking,
Yeah, no, but I mean, the
what I'm
stuff.
asking is the groups that you played
Uh-huh.
for us so far previous to this group were all had accompaniments.
Some have had accompaniment. Some of the other groups that start, like the Buffalo Bills and the Schmitz, and when I played the Confederates, those are without. But some of these other groups that tried to do it with music, some who have stayed without. This group that actually plays music all the time with their singing, but they don't sing much harmony in their stuff. They do maybe 2 and 3 part. This is the first time they'd done it. It was like the biggest song that they had done for about 4 or 5 years. That's why everybody was buying this album, was because of that song on it. I've got the album and I can't name another tune on it. I don't think I've listened to any other tunes on it. Maybe just done one of these with a needle going, And everybody's done that. You buy a record and you hear that there's this one song you got to have. Then you buy it and realize you have 12 more you haven't listened to. So it's the old, now it's on the CDs, it's play hunt and search, No, that doesn't sound very good. Oh man, that's bad. Then you go back and record the ones you want and throw it in a pile, right? Okay, now the next one is made up of studio musicians, 4 big namers worth a lot of money, and they went into 1974 and made a record, and they called themselves the Modern Barbershop Quartet. You can still find this record every once in a while at Kmart for like 99 cents. And it's about what it's worth. There you go. Now in '74, you got to remember what songs were popular. Okay, that's the kick behind this album. Not sing a single old barbershop song on it. They said we're the modern barbershop quartet, not modern in chords, modern day songs.
It rose from days gone by, and did I hear you say he was a meeting you here today?
Yeah, they sound like
Take
that.
you to his mansion in the sky. She's 41 and her daddy still calls her
There you go.
baby. All the folks round Brownsville know she's
The
crazy.
quartet is made up of Thurl Ravenscroft on bass, who's the voice of Tony the Tiger. The baritone is Gene Morford, who sang with the Dapper Dans of Disneyland, and who was the second voice of Tony the Tiger. And sang with Ron Brown and all those guys back in the 60s, Dapper Dans. The lead is Ron Hicklin. He's a professional studio musician, lead vocalist. The tenor, I can't remember his name right offhand, but all these guys were like $100,000 a year income studio musicians, and they were brought together by Gary Owens of the Laugh-In Show to make this record on an album. The name of the record company was Snuff Garrett Records. And the front of it is this great old picture, you know, a caricature of a quartet, and it says Modern Barbershop Quartet. And you get home and all you hear are songs like Delta Dawn, Me and Bobby McGee, done in barbershop. They tried to barbershop the chords as much as they could. There really wasn't anything like really modern about it, but just that they were the modern day quartet. And which was, a long time ago, Bob Franklin of the Suntones was asked by a lady, why do you sing stuff like this Fiddler on the Roof and everything? That isn't barbershop. And he says, ma'am, we're traveling minstrels. And barbershop was made up of a traveling minstrel who knew songs of his time. And he would sing it, and three men would harmonize with it. Simply what we are doing. We're singing songs of our time, and the guys are harmonizing with me. And she looked at him and said, well, it's crap. And walked out with a handful of records. So, but she was giving them as gifts, right? Yeah. More of these guys. Now we're going to go way back. Here's some quartets that. Oh, this is bad. I'll warn you right now. This is an album I found called the Parker Brothers Barbershop Quartet. Yeah, all right, Parker Brothers. $1.50. There you go.
Which nobody can deny, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. We won't get home until morning, we won't get home until morning, we won't get home until morning, till daylight appear, till daylight appear.
Kind of a combination between Glee, opera, barbershop, madrigal, you know, I'm not sure what they are. They kind of like, probably said, we're called the Parker Brothers, and then they reached in a hat and pulled out whatever type of group they were going to be, and that's what they put on the record.
I think they've made that record about 6 or 10 different times under different names. It's the same.
I think you're absolutely right. Like the Golden Gate 4 and the Garden 4.
Same record.
And it goes on forever. Slide! Okay, here we go. Now here's the City Service Quartet, 1943.
That barbershop chord. Down in a great big rathskeller where a musical feller by the name of Bill Jefferson Lord played piano and sing a song. He sang and played the whole night long. Till one night a starry-eyed lady called Lovable Sadie heard him playing that barbershop chord song. Every time that she would catch his eye, she'd cry, Mr. Jefferson Lord, play the barbershop chord. That soothing harmony, it takes an awful hit with me. Play that string, just to please me again. Play that string, 'cause mister, when you start that minor part, I feel your fingers slipping and the grip in my heart. Oh Lord, oh Mr. Lord, play the barbershop chord. Play that string.
Now what's classic about this is the title of the song. Play that barbershop chord. This is the way they end the song.
When you start that minor part, I feel your fingers slipping and the grip in my heart. Oh Lord, oh Mr. Lord, play that barbershop chord. That barbershop chord. Play that barbershop chord.
Yeah! Our sixth, all right, thank you guys. Yeah, that's the barbershop. That's that missing chord we've been looking for. Now again, 43. See, they're following the line of the minstrel quartets. You know, the vaudeville quartets, playing instruments, still singing barbershop, but putting some rhythm with it. Okay, now we got, this is 1940. This was the fourth place quartet, and this is from the contest. This is the Kansas City Police Quartet, singing Bringing Home the Bacon. Now there's a last lyric in this that I couldn't figure out what it was, and I went and found the music. And the last word, next last word is Jesus, is the name. Okay, and I can't remember what the last line of the song is, but it's something like, some men Jesus will be, something like that, and you can't understand what they say. But now they did this in contest, okay? It's a darky song from that era, and it has the word Jesus in it, and they got to compete with it. Okay, so this is again how we've changed, right?
I'm bringing home the bacon to my mammy down in Macon. She's waiting ready for me. Don't ask me why I'm shaking. I'm excited cause I'm taken. That life seems back where I long to be. I've been up and down, down and up. Now found success on the thing to do. Even you are smart enough to get. Cause I'm bringing home the bacon. Gonna give instead of bacon. Let's make happiness. Look at me, take a look at me. I'm a self-made man. I made a lot of dough. Now I wanna go back home. I've had my lesson when it comes to running wild. Hereafter I'm successful. I'm my married angel.
Yeah, they were fourth place in 1940. That's Platinum, I don't know what word that is.
I've been up and down, down and up. Now found success, no other thing to do. Even you are smart enough to guess. Cause I'm bringing home the bacon. Gonna give instead of bacon. That's bacon, bacon, bacon.
Jesus is the last word. Really?
Yeah.
Well, the original sheet music, this was actually a spiritual.
What was the last word?
I don't even know what the one word in the middle of it is, but I was sitting listening to this going, God, man, I mean, this was like wowing somebody in 1940. People were going, yes, more, bring home the bacon. That's 1940.
That's a 10-inch record.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's all the Beacon Hill 4s on it, and the Barflies and all that stuff. It's on an old one. Now here's another quartet that gave it an attempt with an organ, barbershop. And there is a woman in a bathing suit on the front of this record.
The night was mighty dark, so you can hardly see. For the moon refused to shine. Couple sitting underneath a willow tree. For love.
Chords, I mean, bass melody,
Little maid was kind of afraid of darkness, so she said, I guess I'll go. Yes, I'll go. For it began to start. Looked up at the sky. All the moon his little tail of white.
Okay.
Oh, shine, shine.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're going.
Up in the sky.
Now, these guys were called the Four Rhythmaires. And the album, I'm not kidding, it's the funniest record. It's a drawing, but it's four guys with beers. They're looking out the window of a bar, and a woman's walking by in a bathing suit. And they're all going, looking out the door like, yeah, So again, it depicts the four drunks hanging out in a corner somewhere, looking at women, Saturday night, all this kind of stuff. And then the whole record is with organ. 12 tunes, barbershop style with organ. Here I think is like the same group that we were talking about re-releasing. Well, they ended up 6-2. This was a group called the Golden Gate Four, with piano opera singers. 17 verses. Doesn't get any different, except they have a great lyric in here. And on his farm he had a Ford with a rattle, rattle here and a rattle, rattle there, right? The only original lyric out of it. They do every farm animal imaginable. Be on for weeks. It's about the first whole side of the record. Yes, Broadway Review. Now here is the worst, we talked about this, he's heard of this record apparently.
I got it in my car.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, this is the worst recording I've ever heard. We're going to go out and break
Is that the one that's got also the Mills Brothers and the Modern Airs on it, that tape?
No, it's on another one. I've got that on another one. This is the worst though. This is the, I mean,
This is the Barbershop.
this quartet does not have a name. The album's called Barbershop Gold. Big barber pole, you know.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care? What the heck do we care? Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care now? Oh, oh, oh.
I think I heard them in the Amarillo last night.
Little brown jug, how I love thee. Oh, 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 you and me. Little brown jug, how I love thee. Cheers, come to me, my melancholy
Transition.
Oh, 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 little brown jug, how I love thee. Oh, oh,
This is
oh,
bad.
you and me, little brown jug, how I love thee. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care? What the heck do we care? Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care now?
Do you happen to have one of their cards?
I'd like to know where they live. Now,
I want one for the show, don't we, Bob?
all I can figure is, when I read the back of it, it says that this company had enlisted the services of 4 guys that have won competitions and stuff. And it's back in New York where the record company's at. So I'm
One
thinking,
was fired and
well,
died.
we're singling it down to the Seneca land or Mid-Atlantic district somewhere. These guys went to this and it says, brought to you in the woodshed style of barbershop.
Probably a novice contest.
And when the guy showed me the record, I mean, because I couldn't believe it, because on the front, in a big band across the front of it, it says, as seen on TV. So now they advertise this, probably, a K-Tel thing, and you can send off for Barbershop Gold, And, yeah, it probably played it softly in the background where you really couldn't hear, Really, really awful.
That's not bad.
Society do anything about that? No.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things that I guess if you were to find a record like that, is to send it to society just to get it out of circulation.
Yeah.
That I think is the best thing you can do. Because if those lay around in old music stores and some guy walks in, who maybe is not a barbershopper, and says, I always want to give that barbershop a try. I think I'm going to pick this Gold album up. And he goes home and plays that, he's gone. I mean, he's gone through life.
That wouldn't even count a good average.
Yeah, Melancholy Baby really takes it. And all the medleys are like that. Like that one was the drinking medley. Okay? And they have Sweet Adeline on it, and it's spelled Ad, a big O, and line on the back of it. And it's like Sweet Adeline, Sweet 16, Sweet Roses of Morn. It's a sweet medley. It has nothing to do with anything, but it's a sweet medley. There's one other one on here. There's a, oh man, I'll tell you. There was 100 feet of empty space on here by...
Dan, you think we can get them for the Russian show this year? In August? I don't think people would love
You mean for the lineup for the,
Oh, the quiet guy, oh, yeah.
the lineup so we can shoot them, right?
Send us back to Russia, don't we?
Okay, here we go.
Things you say and do just thrill me through and through. I'm getting sentimental over you.
Pied Piper? Right. Only with one original left though in this combination. This was a 1954 recording. There was one original. What's that?
Was that barbershop?
Yeah, you could. You could.
Heard anybody do
Can you name any of the names of any of the Pied Pipers, some biggies who have been in the Pied Pipers when they started?
Dick Wooding Hill.
Dick Winnie Hill?
Really? Paula Kelly, wasn't she?
Paula Kelly, she was in it for a short bit of time. How about Joe Stafford? How about Frank Sinatra? Yeah. And there's
You said big name.
well, yeah, there's my, oh, I'm sorry. You and, yeah.
This announcer was a member of the Pied
Yeah, he actually sang in the group too. There's a club, it's a Pied Pipers club that I found out from a guy who sings vocal jazz. They get together and these people swap records and try and find the rare releases and read copies, this, that. I found this one the other day in a store, and it's a big picture of a trombone in the front, and they're in the middle of the slide. And it was a tribute to Tommy Dorsey, the whole album. Done in '54 with one last original member of the group. And it told on the back the history of the group on the back of the record. So it was kind of nice to know something about, you know, how the group started.
I'm thinking of,
Some real pretty stuff. Yeah, real neat harmonies.
yes, I'm getting sentimental over you.
Now the next group's like one of my favorite funny stories of this next group. My dad, actually he's older than I am, comes home one night when I'm in high school. This is when I'm first in barbershop, and you know, I'm into like certain groups I'm listening to. We're still into the rock thing. I used to play drums, and Dad says, "Hey, I got tickets. We're gonna go see it." I said, "Who?" He says, "Not gonna tell you. We're going." Okay, great. We travel over to a place called the Smokehouse in Burbank. The Smokehouse is that, right? Go over there, my dad says, "Don't be looking at the banners and nothing. Come on, just take me on in. Come on. We're getting in line, have some dinner." We have dinner in the little dining room in there and stuff, and then the announcement comes on. Ladies and gentlemen, the Smokehouse here in Burbank is proud to present, and they mumble the guy's name. Harvey Falls, North Carolina Center, legendary Ink Spots. Okay, so my dad's going, "Man, these guys are great." The guys that came out were about my age. Okay, there was not an original in the group. The name that they announced before the Ink Spots was a guy who owned the name, the Ink Spots, and he put a group together to sing old Ink Spot songs, right? Which is, it happens. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about vocal music too, from the early '50s. The groups are still around, like the Diamonds.